So a few days ago, Nigeria woke up to the heartbreaking story of Favour Agbro, who's a 20-year-old nursing student whose death has sparked a lot of grief, outrage, and renewed conversations about sexual violence. According to the Delta State Police Command, Favour traveled to Asaba after she was invited by some kind of content creator, Ifeanyi Ogbonna, popularly known as Ojogu of Asaba, who allegedly promised to mentor her in content creation and help her, build a career in digital media. Police say she was taken to a hotel where she was allegedly sexually assaulted and physically assaulted. After returning home, she reportedly told her parents what had happened, recorded a video afterwards describing her experience and the emotional pain she was carrying, and later she ingested a poisonous substance and died while receiving treatment. Now, the Delta State Police have since arrested. They have arrested the suspect, who is still in custody, and have stated that investigations are ongoing. To establish the full circumstances of the case. Now, people, every time a story like this reaches the public, we immediately begin to argue over evidence, personalities, and reputations, right? And while due process is essential, right, there's another conversation that should be happening in the Nigerian space. Okay? We keep treating these cases as isolated tragedies instead of asking what kind of society keeps producing them with such painful regularity. When something happens often, it is the culture. A lot of us still do not fully understand consent. Too many boys grow up into men believing that persistence is enough, that power gives them access, that a woman's hesitation is something to overcome, or that her presence in your space is somehow permission. Now, those ideas do not appear overnight, they are learned, you know. I'm looking for what they're tolerated. They're reinforced by jokes, by silence, by the refusal of friends to challenge one another, and by communities that excuse behavior they would condemn if it happened to their sister or their mother or their wives, somebody they cared about. Then there is little burden placed on women, which begins long before adulthood. Girls are taught how to avoid danger, how to dress, how to speak, where not to go, what time to come home, who not to trust, while, fewer conversations are spent teaching boys that another person's body belongs to the person alone. We've built a culture that trains women to manage men's behavior instead of training men to manage their own behavior. Many children grow up in homes where boundaries are never discussed. Entitlement is mistaken for masculinity. Where daughters are raised to accommodate and sons are raised to expect accommodation of anything. You know what I'm saying? Those lessons do not stay inside the house. They eventually enter the schools, the workplaces, relationships, politics, churches, mosques, and every other public space. The institutions around us matter just as much. Every survivor watches how the previous survivor was treated before deciding whether to speak. When people expect disbelief, humiliation, endless delays, public attacks, or justice that never arrives, silence starts to look like the safer option. This failure belongs to all of us, not only to the legal system. What happened to Favour is now before the justice system, and the investigation should be allowed to reach its conclusion. At the same time, Nigerians, the larger question cannot wait for a courtroom. We should be asking ourselves why so many women calculate risk before accepting opportunities, why mentorship has become something some women approach with fear, and why so many families have stories that they never tell because they believe speaking will only bring more pain. If this conversation ends with one arrest, one investigation, one news cycle after another, then I promise you we will be back here again and again and again. Positive change begins when we stop seeing sexual violence as something that happens because of a few bad individuals and start confronting the attitudes, family dynamics, community norms, and institutional failures, right, that allow this to happen in the first place. Now, this is a conversation this case should force us to have as a people.